Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rebooked, the podcast where we talk about wrestling storylines and awesome men and women slapping meat in the world of professional wrestling. That's right, baby. I'm GB, we got Jake, we got Matt, and we're going to talk about some more goodness because we have been treated to what in my mind was one of the greatest weeks of pro wrestling, and we've been being treated to those quite a bit lately.
I thought you've been saying that a lot.
This is crazy, man.
Yeah, it's starting to lose its meaning a little bit.
It really is. It's like getting to the point now where it's so awesome that it's not awesome anymore, and that might be problematic. No, but jokes aside, it really was a sick week of wrestling, from The Rock dropping just the most wild promo on the people of promos. Yeah, very true. More on that in a second. On the good people of Glendale, Arizona, poor things. They just got eviscerated on SmackDown. Then on top of that, you had AEW Revolution, which I will go as far as to say one of their best shows ever. And that's saying something, considering that All In was at that point just unreal, and that was not that long ago. So really, we had so much. And then, of course, Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw just moved so many stories forward, and there's going to be a lot to discuss. But first, fellas, how's your week been? How have you been doing? I miss both of you dearly.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's so genteel. That's so.
I genuinely mean it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's really appreciated given the fact that you never make an attempt to reach out. Anyway, it's funny. No, I'm just joking.
What? Oh, and by the way, stay tuned at the end of the podcast. We have a fun announcement at the end of it that I think a lot of people who are starting to enjoy the podcast, all dozens of you, are starting to really enjoy. So we'll hopefully
GB's growing his hair out again, so it's
Yes.
sorry to spoil it.
Speaking of getting eviscerated on the microphone,
Jake's on
skater
fire
last week.
Did you write The Rock's promos, man? Oh my word! All right.
He asked me for some punch-ups. We'll just say that.
And you gave him the ones he needed. He definitely had some. Okay, so we've had some great comments on our YouTube channel. Some people are really getting to the spirit of sharing your theories, and we thought it'd be a really fun idea to talk about one of those, discuss it a little bit. So if you have a wrestling theory that you want to talk about, or you think could happen at WrestleMania, or maybe it's at the next AEW pay-per-view Dynasty, maybe it's a TNA theory, a New Japan theory, doesn't matter. Put it into the comments. We want to hear from you in our YouTube videos. So here it is. It's from Best Bry So Far. This is a long one, so I'm going to just do the cliff notes here. It says, Cody wins at Mania. Seth helps. Crowd goes nuts. Rock comes out, overturns the result using his power. Title comes back to Roman, and the crowd boos. You get major heat on The Rock. Obviously, people on the internet are upset, per usual. His words, not mine. A slight retelling of Dusty's winning in Madison Square Garden. Cody demands a rematch in France, a backlash at the next Raw. Rock says no. He'll never get another opportunity without the Bloodline's approval. And then we get Roman to SummerSlam to break Hogan's run, which that was the reason why I wanted to talk about this, of whether or not Hogan's run gets broken. So basically, during all this time, Rock will be doing everything he can to keep Cody down. And then, of course, with the help of Triple H, though, Cody is still winning. So you kind of get a little bit of Triple H involved in the story as well. So you get Rock, Triple H, and then you get Cody, Rock also as kind of like being the person in the ring in place of Triple H in that situation. And then, of course, as Roman continues to get cockier and cockier, and I think we kind of see where this goes, Cody finishes the story in the same building. Now, what he says here is Survivor Series, when they're having a big show at MSG, Cody asked Roman for one more match, and if I can't beat you, I'll drop all of this. Okay, so it's basically saying like he'll get the win at Madison Square Garden, and that will be like how the Bloodline will implode. There's a lot of really cool things to unpack there, but the one thing I will just say right out of the gate that unfortunately kind of nullifies a lot of this is Madison Square Garden. It's just, I don't think anyone can run a pay-per-view or broadcast show from Madison Square Garden without broadcasting it on MSG. I only know this as being a New Yorker. And that's part of the reason why Madison Square Garden fell off over the years. That, and it's an incredibly old building. So that's my only takeaway from this. What do you guys think? Rock, Triple H involved in the story.
Well, wait. We can't do TV from MSG anymore?
You can-ish. It's just that
news.
like Yeah, like
that's why we've
that
never.
was one of the reasons why.
Yeah, that's why we've never. There've been several like shows at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
but and they've never. But they don't ever do. Haven't done a Raw. They haven't done a SmackDown.
I think it's only pay-per-views. I think it's only pay-per-views because it's not being broadcasted on broadcast television. It's being broadcasted on closed distribution. So that would be the only way that I could see it being the case. And I only know this because of esports, funny enough. Just because we've, like Madison Square Garden Group was like trying to get involved in esports, and there was like all this other like hoopla and blah, blah, blah. So I had learned all about that through there. That being said, though, I could still see them utilizing Madison Square Garden at a house show to do something to kind of like draw eyeballs to it. Just because it's MSG. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Samoa Joe won the NXT title at a house show at Madison Square Garden. Could be wrong. But yeah, because he pinned Finn, I believe. That was when Finn got called up to the main roster, and he.
There was somebody a couple years ago who won a major title at MSG, and it wasn't broadcast, if I recall. And you only heard about it online. It was like a big title change. I thought, like, I want to say it was involving AJ Styles, but I can't remember. I'll do a little research. I'll do a little research.
Digging.
They've done that every now and then to kind of just like renew interest in house shows. I'm like, oh, you never know what's going to happen, kind of feeling for sure.
Yeah.
But getting back to Bry's suggestions and his fantasy booking, as we love to do as well.
2017, AJ Styles took the WWE title from Kevin Owens.
Off of Kevin Owens. That's what it was. I don't know why, but it also happened with Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. I'm almost certain it happened with Samoa Joe.
I think you might be right,
Yeah.
Universal title or WWE title?
No, it was NXT title.
Oh, NXT title.
For Samoa Joe and Finn, but for AJ and Kevin, it was the WWE title. So what do we think about best by far?
I could. How much time do we have?
Best by far, my friend. What do we make of his theory? Matt, I know you were going to say something.
There's some very cool ideas. I think they are at a point where they need, like. You can talk about first inning all you want, but overall with the Bloodline, we are so not in the first inning. I think they need to ramp up, hit the gas,
agreed,
pedal to the floor for the next month, and finish this fucking thing. Because I'm sorry, like the crowd, a dusty finish at Mania is very apropos, but I think at this point, the fever pitch, you capitalize on it. It's going to, if this drags on, not only till like the fall, another 6-7 months, you will lose people.
Yeah, I agree.
We are at a fever burning pitch right now with all this build. I know, cool ideas. There are some cool ideas in there, but I think the Rock is not the next stage of the. I think he's the catalyst to light this bonfire to the roof.
That's fair. That is super fair, because I feel as if with the way that they have been telling this story, that if it doesn't have a conclusion, people would feel people would feel robbed a little bit, because I remember going into WrestleMania last year, and I had the pleasure of attending that one and watching, because I was like so excited, right? But when Cody lost, and I was livid at first, because I'm like, why would they do that? That makes no sense. And then I think, wait, Cody just came back. He just like made his presence known that he's back in the WWE. Like there's still like so much that he needs to do. He needs to build a bit more. We gotta like love Cody. Like I think everyone was really excited because they wanted AEW Cody Rhodes to beat WWE's Roman Reigns, right?
I think it was a little
like how it was even presented. To like he was an invader, an outsider coming in, changing the game, inserting himself into a situation when that's been going on for a while now, without recognizing it was like the perfect story. It was like literally perfection. You couldn't have asked for this to go any better for them. So if you don't close it out here, you shoot yourself in the foot, plain and simple.
Yeah, right. I think it was a little. I think it was a little Roman fatigue at the time too. Maybe I think that's maybe partly why people wanted to see Cody win. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think maybe if you had done something like that last year, it could have worked. But like you said, if Cody doesn't win, the fans in Philadelphia, there will be infrastructure damage in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, 100%.
If he doesn't win,
we're gonna have to pass another infrastructure bill, baby.
There's already plenty of damage.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be, it's gonna be awful. I mean, I don't see him not winning at Mania. I like the idea of some kind of screw job trying to happen.
Yeah.
I think what we'll probably see is I think it's going to end up being the Bloodline rules match is what I'm thinking it's going to be. So I think Rock and Roman are going to win night one. And I think that's going to be the kind of disadvantage, like the fix is in kind of feeling that we're going to end up seeing.
And Cody's going to eat the pin. Cody's going to take the pin. By the way, I'm like very
from
very
who?
Cody's going to take the pin from The Rock.
You think
Cody's going to take the pin from The Rock? Yeah, I think that like the reason why is because you got to get Roman away from the picture a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. And I think that the story, I don't want to go too far because maybe this could be better for fantasy booking, but I just really feel like where they want to go with this, now that they have seen the money that they can make, the money is going to be, you get Cody Roman, right? You're going to get this big tag team match, so everyone's already stoked about that. You're going to get Cody Roman, that's already going to be a massive draw, and then whatever fallout happens from there, you do Rock Cody for that one-on-one match, and with Cody as champion, honestly. I think it would pop off. It's a different way to approach a story. The bad guy is chasing, but it's The Rock chasing Cody. But Cody needs to beat The Rock, and this needs to be like the bam, end of the bloodline. You're done with it. We're moving forward. Like that's the story. I couldn't agree more with you guys.
Yeah.
But I do wonder though, if they swerve. They could swerve.
There's always that possibility.
Well, but again,
we're this time of year.
He is the son of Dusty.
But we're just at a point. We're just at a point, and I think Matt talked about it last week. Like swerving just for the sake of a swerve is you can't do that.
Not good storytelling.
It's not good storytelling.
Excellent
Ask M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah. It's not. It doesn't work every time.
Oh, dude, I thought Avatar was amazing. Okay, that's just me. Dude, yeah, I'm totally with you. We'll see where this goes. But Best Bride Far. Say that 5 times fast. Thank you for submitting that. That was awesome. I love the way that you are just cooking, my friend. Yeah. Keep cooking. What else you got coming up? Maybe you'll get inspired by what we talk about next, because there is so much to discuss regarding what The Rock said to the good folks of Glendale, Arizona. Calling them all a bunch of crackheads. That was crazy. I'm actually shocked that no one, well, firstly, Jimmy couldn't contain himself, so that was hilarious. Yeah. But I'm shocked that no one else was breaking. No one else was breaking character. They were firm. But guys,
he almost got Solo. He almost got Solo.
Bro, when he started like going in on Solo, oh man, that was freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
What did you make of it, Jake? How'd you feel about The Rock? Because I know you like just a good old fashioned, just whatever that was.
Just eviscerating. I just love it. Yeah. I love it.
Good old fashioned evisceration.
Again, it's just it's old school Rock, man. Like he's back doing the same thing. I swear to God, if we don't get a Rock concert, I'm going to be upset. If he does not give us a Rock concert at some point, that will be a travesty. And I think we could get one before Mania.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So I liked it. It was a little. One thing that I noticed Rock does is. I can't decide if it's him just I can't decide if it's him trying to emphasize a point or if he's trying to think of where to go next when he reiterates the same thing over and over. Like watch the one specifically. Watch the one that he did that he posted. The 26-minute, like.
Did you guys
monologue.
know that The Rock owns his name now? He owns everything that is to do with The Rock. Did you know
exactly?
That? Because he told us 6 times.
Yeah. So he does that.
That was so good.
Yeah, he does that kind of thing. And like I said, I don't know if it's for emphasis or if it's because, shit, where was I going next? Let me say that again and see if that'll re-jog my memory.
Performer, I 100% think it's that, to a degree.
Sure.
Okay. It's that idea of like, it's my bridge. It's like, man, what was I going to go? Yeah, it's like, go back
That's
to this.
my cue for the next thing. Yeah.
To repetition. It always kind of gets the energy up in a promo. It's an easy fallback. So I'm thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, though? Something that really stuck out to me as I was watching it was I was really paying attention to 2 people that really, I think, did some, while it was going on, regardless, they were doing some good work over on the side. Roman and Paul Heyman were immaculate in that segment. Roman was scowling the entire time. You could just tell every time The Rock was talking, it was just he was bothered by it, which was really cool because it's like, well, what's going on here? And then we kind of got a little bit of that resolution at the end of the segment, which was also great. And it was so good that I was watching it and my wife stopped and she was like, oh, she stopped him from saying what we were going to smell? Oh my gosh, this is happening right now?
Let's talk about that camera work too. That camera work of him going down and then that hand coming in, I was like, oh shit, what is happening now? And
like, I don't want to be a douchebag, but like, who was the other guy, Kevin Dunn or whatever? That dude could never do that. I'm sorry, but like, it's just, I don't know who it would have
been zoomed in and out 43 times. It would have.
Bro, they know how to capture these moments.
Yes.
It's insane, man. It's really, really cool. But more on the Rock thing, because I can attest to this. I know. I mean, also, I have worked with him, so I have seen how he works, and I can say that, like, for me, I think it was a little bit of that, like trying to figure out where he wanted to go next, because going out there and you can tell that he feels it. He feels it out as he's like saying things. He's feeling it out, whether or not it's good or it's bad. And that could be a detriment sometimes, because I think if you go out there with an objective with your storylines, you need to make sure that you land the plane on those things. But with The Rock, he's so charismatic and he's so good at just moving on the fly into different areas that he does have a tendency to kind of like hang on to things. Like, for example, the Solo thing. I think the one line, super funny. The second line, still funny. Third line, super funny. But at this point, we should have moved on, and that. But that's, again, that I think it's just
that. I think was him just trying to get him to break. I think he was just trying to get.
I think
he
so,
was just
genuinely.
Solo.
Yeah, he probably just thought it was funny and just kept going because it's The Rock. He does whatever he wants to do.
But to me,
he still has the crowd wrapped around his fingers.
Yeah, but to me, what's different about this Rock that is something. Like, the old Rock was doing that very thing. He's going for laughs, right? He's just going for the reaction. But you can see that this older, more experienced Rock, whatever you want to call him, he's feeling like he's playing to his own emotions more than he ever has. He doesn't even do that in his fucking movies. Like, and if he did, they'd be better. Like, if he just would, if he's internalized, because you see those moments where he's like, he's beating his chest or whatever. He feels that. That's not just show. Yeah. That's him really. That kind of hurt a little bit. He's really feeling that. And I'm really feeling it now too. But
no kidding.
that I think is something that's new, that he's bringing in more to his performances. And I think in part it's, where was I going? Because I'm getting so worked up that I need to. I got to remember that I'm telling a story. I'm selling a show. I'm pushing WrestleMania. I'm building this up, and so I think he's getting a little inside his own feelings a little bit when he's giving these promos, which I think is actually good, but sometimes it does come across a little like, shit, where was I going? So I think that's what's kind of fun about this is I think The Rock is kind of finding this new gear in himself, and he's learning. He's kind of like relearning who he is, and we're learning along with him.
I'm actually glad you mentioned this, Jake. And I want to get Matt. I want to ask you this because having you been around for so long, like doing what you do, right? I want to kind of poke your brain on whether or not you feel like promo game has changed over the years. Like the way that people are talking on the mic feels so different. Obviously, we're no longer in those times of like the NWA era where like, you're interviewer is there and he's, going back and forth. They're behind a step and repeat and they're just like going for it. Right. And the guy's just yelling the entire time. We're past those points, I think, in storytelling and wrestling. But I do also feel like we have evolved a little bit from even where things were in the Attitude Era as well. And it's a more methodical, more thoughtful approach. What are your take on that? Do you see that change happening over the years?
I mean, it has been literally taught to WWE talent. I mean, it is that I think I mentioned it either on the first episode or maybe our second one, but that was a big thing. Dusty Rhodes talking about Cody back when we in the developmental system of FCW, then turned into NXT. He was a big proponent of like, it's why are you yelling, baby? What are you so mad about? Just talk to me. Just be real, like and stuff like that. But that's what it was. It was just like if you have something to get angry about, you'll get there. But right now, you're not like in a match fighting with somebody. You're just telling me. Yeah. And like they brought in we had regular acting coaches. It's a more theatrical acting kind of approach of like a grounded performance. Now, we still often, you're out there in front of 20,000 people or whatever, you just get hyped up, you start doing kind of the traditional wrestling promo. We still see plenty of that. Just kind of yelling, "Oh baby, let's go" kind of stuff. Yeah. But I can for sure tell you it has been pushed and encouraged more and more over the last 10, 15 years of like, be real, be grounded, be down to earth in these, and especially as the characters are a little bit less cartoony, a little bit more human in this modern era of wrestling. It has been encouraged literally from top down and from the creative and booking teams and everything to be more grounded, authentic characters. Yes, because they know that's what resonates with people.
Well, not only that, but I think it probably also makes promos easier to do. Because it's one thing trying to speak from the perspective of a character you don't relate to. It's another thing entirely to think of how you are in this role, in this gimmick, and it makes it easier to do those kinds of promos because it's really you feeling it. It's just everybody. You always hear about just turn yourself up to 11. That's just you listening to your id and just letting come out whatever it is that comes out. That's where that emotion comes from. I think that's what makes it easier for wrestlers and performers to connect with the audience.
And it's also clear too that like a lot of the wrestlers are like, to your point, Matt, and also to add on what you said, Jake, like they are believing, they understand their characters. I feel like people are, and if they aren't, you're starting to see them understand their characters on screen right now. Like a good example of that is Jey Uso. Right, and it's kind of like bleeds into the main event, which of Monday Night Raw, which was awesomely done, by the way. Like I really do like I like crazy, especially Mania season, like haphazard, like wild endings of just a bunch of stuff going on. Because it just ups the stakes a little bit more, right? It makes you feel like, oh my God, so much happened, and I gotta watch next week. Like it's just perfect storytelling, right? But before the main event, and this is also something that AEW did as well at Revolution that I really enjoyed, were these like pre-match kind of like promos that they gave. At Revolution, they did it with the commentators. Well, with the interviewers. They did it with Renee and I forget the other lady's name, but they did it with for the Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson match. The interviewers set up like exactly why this match is happening, what the result of this match could potentially be of the two wrestlers shaking hands, because that's what Eddie wanted. And like both wrestlers were like really in the moment. Then you contrast that to what Monday Night Raw did, which was having the wrestlers, both were great, by the way. I like the way both angles were, but the wrestlers were the ones that, like Jey Uso just came out and he's loud, he's boisterous, he has an energy about him. But when you hear what he says, he's telling you straight up. He's like, Jay, don't play. You've been running your mouth. And he's like, hey, man, I'm sorry. But also, I'm sorry because I'm about to give you these hands right now. And he did. And he actually went out there and gave Drew the hands. But then, and that was perfect because it really sets up Jay, keeps Jay like away from titles, because that would be the best thing for him, because you got to settle all the elements of the Bloodline feud. And then, of course, you just get the carnage at the end. Solo comes out to interrupt a little bit of the match. Then Jimmy's there. But then when Solo's out, in comes Cody. When Jimmy's out, in comes Seth. And then Seth just runs past Drew, completely ignoring him after this match concluded, to try and beat up Jimmy, only to then get a Claymore to the face. That was just so freaking well done. And they did it. Like, everyone understood their role in this situation. And it played out so freaking well. And they've been doing this week in and week out, guys.
Yeah.
And I think
impressive.
I think if we're going to kind of shift towards, Raw, we talked a little bit about The Rock's promo, and now we'll talk about Raw and all that. I think that main event did a really good job of in its own self, in its own little microcosm of where everything is going to go at Mania, specifically for Seth. That was a perfect visual representation of, he is looking past Drew. He is involved in all this Bloodline
and Michael
stuff.
Cole was perfect in this moment, by the way. Just look at him run right past Drew. It was so
and
good.
even Drew's face. Drew sold that so well when he ran by, and he was just like, what is this guy doing? Like, I'm nothing. He just ran right by me. Yeah. Drew played that so well. Sorry, Matt, continue.
No, but that's exactly it. And I feel like that's what's going to pay off at Mania, is this tag match now. And now they've confirmed Drew and Seth is night 2, I believe. Yeah. And I think that's going to be the story going into Mania. We're going to have all the chaos. Seth is so headstrong. And, like, I know his character is focused on telling everyone this is the biggest problem in WWE. We have to take them down.
And he's not wrong.
No,
that's
he's
the
not.
problem. He's not wrong.
But Drew's standing by like, flip my collar, fine, you're going to pay for it, bam, and I'm going to take away what's most precious to you in the meantime.
Like, Drew's playing this. I love how he's playing this, because what I think's a great storytelling thing is, and you don't ever see it in wrestling, is when someone does turn face from heel, most of the time people are just like, okay, he's a good guy now. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's on our side. But Drew's like, is everyone really going to forget about all the shit that he did for 3 years to people? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care that he was conflicted. Like, he is like, Drew. It's like Drew's taking it upon himself. I am absolving everyone of their sins, but I'm doing so through punishment. I'm doing so through pain. And it's like he's almost playing it like he feels bad, but he doesn't at the same time. Like, he's relishing it. It's almost he's playing it like there's this weight on his shoulders of like, I have to carry this burden of punishing everyone for what they've done and showing them their wrongs and righting. He is, and he's playing it so well. He's playing that so well. It's just impressive, the work that Drew's doing right now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And it's like, I know we're all kind of saying the same thing, so I don't want to harp on it too long, but I think what Drew is doing with his character is the evolution of like bad guys. And conversely, we're seeing that same kind of narrative play out in AEW. We actually saw it play out at Revolution with Hangman Adam Page. So like, that is, I mean, I don't know. I want to use that kind of as a little bit of a segue, if you guys are cool with that, because
by all means.
I don't know if we have more to talk about with Monday Night Raw, because there really was a lot of stuff. But I think like this story is only going to continue to unfold, and I think we kind of see where things are going to fall. But we'll talk more about that in fantasy booking. But let's talk about freaking AEW Revolution. Holy crap. It was like, the saying is like, sex is great and all, but like, have you ... Like, that's how I felt at the end of watching Revolution. I was like, listen, I looked at my wife and I said, honey, I love you. But that right there, that was a sexual experience that I just had. No, but honestly, no, honestly, I mean, jokes aside, it really was a great show. I felt like everyone like understood the assignment. You know, go out there, just put on banger matches, tell great stories. Everyone nailed it. Every match brought something different to the table. Some more than others, but I think the first that we just need to discuss is Sting. The championship match that closed out Revolution, tag team championship, Sting, Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks. And, Matt, what a great match. It's Sting.
It was... I find it interesting now, and I was trying to think of other examples. I freaking know that there are. But there is this thing with, like, a lot of guys, especially from the kind of, like, that generation, who are starting to have their retirement matches and everything, kind of go out in these, like, they're not going out in traditional, they're these like hardcore crazy fights and stuff like that. It's kind of funny from guys who are generally pegged as like old school traditionalists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this I thought was done really well. It just came right out with the entrance. If you guys haven't watched it, go out of your way to just find clips of
it's actually available. The whole entrance is available on AEW's YouTube channel.
As it should be.
Just go watch it. It's really awesome.
Just his son, I didn't realize that's who it was at first. His sons come out representing the other, NWO Sting, or Wolfpack Sting and Surfer Sting, and then he comes out, Seek and Destroy plays. Like, it was just
so good.
It was one of those times that I'm like, this sounds so crummy. I'm gonna get so much flack for it, but like from that kind of perspective, I feel like AEW is often lacked a little. They've had flashy entrances. They've had like cool lights and cool setups. Like Wembley was a cool like visual setup, but I mean, like almost like this kind of like next level like visual storytelling.
It's production,
their production, their production, and when like very very guerrilla, initially. I do think they're growing up. I think like the way that they've been visually showing off their product with more emphasis, and this obviously comes down to like LED technology becoming more like accessible, as well as AR technology, VFX and whatnot, because they even had like cool title graphics this time around as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see. Continue though. Sorry, I mean,
but just like that, I mean, again, the introduction of people like using the spotlights on his two sons. I don't know. There was another. Other than just a cool entrance, there's another emotional level to it and everything like that. So, yeah,
I thought intro it was really, video really cool. That they did, the intro video in him in the theater going through, and I think that was where, well, obviously that was where they were going to use, the WWE footage and the TNA footage if they had gotten the rights to it. But you know what? I wasn't like mad about that either because. AEW didn't ask. Is that what it was? Or
it's coming out now that they didn't ask. At least they didn't ask WWE. I don't know about TNA, but I assume it's the same with them.
They probably just thought.
I haven't heard. No. Normally that's the kind of thing. I'm not like in the bowels of the business end of things, but normally that's the kind of thing I feel like I would have heard by now. Somebody like, oh yeah, we're going to give them some Sting footage for that over there, but I haven't heard word one.
Yeah, so I mean, even then, I don't really think it like ultimately mattered all that. No,
I don't think so either.
It didn't take anything away from the match. Didn't take anything away from the presentation. We all know Sting's illustrious history. We could just go pull up, WWE Network and just see literally Sting just be freaking awesome all throughout the years. So it doesn't really matter. But in regards to the match itself and also the conclusion of the match, which I think. Leads us to some fun kind of theories of where things can go from here. Because without a doubt, I mean, Sting was very, very straightforward. This is it. He's done. Like he's not going to Ric Flair it. He's out. He went out his way. And but Ric Flair was also great at that event. Yeah. So shout out to Ric Flair, man. What a legend. But now with them holding on to the tag team titles, guys, we have a legend retiring with his hand raised, holding a title that will now just be retired because he's no longer competing. I actually like that. I'm very okay with that, especially considering that it was Sting. I don't know how I would feel with anyone else, but just with what happened in WWE and him getting injured and then him not really having like the run that he deserved in WWE and then him having that experience in AEW, I was perfectly fine with it. But I want to know what you guys think, because I know that's like a real big thing in wrestling. Like you go out with your shoulders pinned against the mat, like
go out on your shield. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. So Jake, what did you think? What do you think of that? Just that concept of going out with your hand raised.
I like it. I mean, I don't even know. I imagine that Sting probably was like, I'm going to lose this thing. And everybody was like, no, absolutely not. You can't. Because one of the big things that they kept talking about, undefeated in AEW. That was one of the big things that they kept talking about with him. And I think that they just really wanted to honor Sting and everything that he had, and that he is a, champion of this art. And that he's, and that he deserves to go out that way. I think that they're, I liked it. I liked that they did that. I think Sting appreciated it. I think everyone probably involved in the match. I mean, the Young Bucks probably knew we don't need a push. Darby knew it too. He's been with him the whole time. He's like, what do we have to gain from Sting losing this match? Let's give him the moment that he deserves. He has literally been in every single promotion that he could possibly be in. He's the only, I was thinking about this today. I think he's the only wrestler to ever be in a WCW, WWE, TNA, and AEW video game. No one else has done that. No one else has done that.
Yo, that's crazy. I never even thought about that.
So,
that is sick.
This guy has been everywhere. He's done everything. Let's give him his flowers. He's earned it. If anybody has earned it, it's Sting. So I'm okay with it. I'm completely okay with it.
Sick.
Yeah. For the most, so I will say I think Revolution was an exception to the rule. I don't think it is the new rule or anything like
Agreed.
that. It's not the rule. It's a tradition. It was an
exception. I think it's something that just be a little bit more fluid potentially, like depending on the circumstances.
And that's the thing is it usually does, because the whole idea of going out on your back is like going out on your shield. It's also usually putting over someone of an up and coming or whatever like that. So the big X factor in this match, though, like we said, Young Bucks don't need it. They're well established and everything like that. They don't need the kind of rub, as they say.
Yeah.
Though it would have been huge. You know who needed the rub in this way though was Darby.
Yeah.
And I shout out to somebody from my Twitch community, fan that I've chatted with a lot, named Dresden. He put it in a very good way. It was like there was the unique opportunity to put over the young guy in the match. Sting had to win, which is Darby. Go out on top, retaining those championships with the man, the legend, the icon. Darby gets to raise his hands with him, kind of thing. So you are giving a little bit of that shine to the youngest, probably the hottest.
Because the format, tag match format.
The younger, hot and up and coming talent. Out of all four in that matchup, he's the guy who should kind of go on to that next level after this run.
Yeah.
So by coming out on top in this feud, in this angle, and everything like that, I think it gives a little extra shine on him. And so, by winning, he did kind of help nudge on the next generation, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm good with it in that regard. In addition to everything you guys already put out.
That's a good way to look at it too. Because honestly, I wasn't even really factoring in Darby, because to me in my head, like Darby's already like, he's already up there, right?
He is, but I mean, out of all four in that,
but I know what you're saying.
He's probably the most like.
Because the Young Bucks didn't need to win the tag titles. No. They genuinely did it. If they would have, all it would have done is just set up who is the next like tag team to take them down. And AEW has already proven. I wouldn't be shocked if we get this announcement on Dynamite today when this podcast comes out. I wouldn't be shocked if they announce that they're just going to do a tag team tournament for the tag titles because
I think Tony already said that. I think in his in the press conference. I
believe the titles are vacated, right?
Okay, so they are officially vacated. They're not
greatest champion of all time. Vacant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Oh, he's back again.
Vacant at it again.
Is back again. Yeah. You never know when they're going to strike. Oh, Vacant, you old so-and-so. But Vacant's back in the power position, and that means that you are going to see a tag title tournament. And it just so happens that they had set up quite a bit for the tag title division in Revolution, if you were paying attention. If you listen to Excalibur and I think it was Nigel McGuinness on commentary, they were constantly referencing, oh, it looks like the Blackpool Combat Club are a real refined tag team now. Like really trying to push that the BCC's a tag team. And I think that we are going to go to Blackpool
They've been doing that for a few weeks anyway. They've been doing that for a few weeks anyway.
When they
but for sure,
beat FTR. Yeah.
Oh,
when they specifically beat FTR, they said literally that. They were like, that puts them in a prime position in the tag division. And so it's like, okay, we know where this is going.
And there was also
FTR, BCC for the titles.
Right. And there was also that promo that Mox and Claudio cut a few weeks ago where Mox was like, well, you think we don't know tag team wrestling? You think we don't know? You don't think we know it inside and out? So it felt like that was a setup from the start too. Yeah.
Yeah. But that, and again, they could have done that with the Young Bucks as tag team champions. They opted not to do that. Instead, they're going to do a classic AEW, and I ain't mad about it. We're going to get another tournament with some of the best tag team wrestlers in the world participating in it. It's going to be exciting. So yeah, that's a really awesome thing to look forward to. Not much of a storyline thing, but the story here, and I was going to say, that is the thing I love about Jon Moxley. Is that Jon Moxley goes out there, gives you 110% every damn time. He's so freaking good. He's so entertaining. He doesn't give a shit about a story. The story is that he's kicking your ass. That's the story, you know. And now Claudio's in it, and that's the next story. Hey, Claudio and Moxley, we're kicking ass, and that's our storyline right now. And that is all I need from them.
From them, sure. See, like
I need from them.
No. Right. But I want more than that because every match, the story in some regard is I'm going to kick your ass. So I do want things to grow beyond that.
I agree.
I hope in this tournament, I like.
Or I understand rather. I am a Jon Moxley stan, so I am okay.
Mox.
Well, I know. How can you not love the guy? I'm just go on.
No, but like, because that's a little bit, because you're 100% right, but I also like hear that's what the people who try to say like story and wrestling and characters are bad, because they go, it should just be ass kicking banger match. That's all you need. Why are they trying to add storylines and all this? That's fuel to them, and I go, no. Number one, it's all the same. It's all one and the same.
There's still a story, even if the story's, I want to kick your ass. There's still a story there.
They're not all these up and down soap operas, but they're still stories. So I do like the idea of, and especially it gives something for Mox, who's a guy who is normally a world title contender guy. You keep him busy, and now Blackpool Combat Club isn't just singles guys who occasionally team up. Now we have a fixed tag team. And I'm excited to see where they kind of turn that up in this potential tournament.
Yeah.
But to speak,
the story though is going to be that FTR. Sorry, it's just basically going to be FTR BCC. That's it. Like it's there. It's clear like this is just like a blood feud that's bleeding over into a title feud. That's how it comes across. But to your point, yes, it needs to be a little bit more layers on it. If it.
But I think we'll get there though. I think we'll get there over the course of this tournament.
Yeah, go for it.
But I was going to say is to speak more to you can still kick ass and tell a story. I mean, to the people who are saying, no, you don't need the story, go tell that to Eddie Kingston. That dude is doing exactly that. He goes out and gives everything. The match against Danielson, and then the moment after, I don't know if you saw the moment after where they're in the...
I didn't. What happened there?
It's just they were talking. I guess it was just an online exclusive, but they were sitting in the medical in the medical room, treatment room. He was just good. It was. I mean, Eddie just poured his heart out. He was like, "This is all I wanted. All I wanted this whole time was for you to respect me. That's all I want. That's all I care about. I don't care about the titles. I don't care about, going into any kind of Hall of Fame. I don't care. He's like, I care what the boys think, because that's who's going to be talking about me forever. Not the fans, not the, but the boys. That's who I want respect from. That's why I go out there and do what I do. And it was so good. And then he leaves, and Danielson talks to camera about, he's like, he's right. I didn't respect him, and he earned my respect. And that wasn't something that the handshake wasn't something that I felt like I had to do at the end of the match. It's something I wanted to do. It just was so good. It was just such a good story. So yeah, you can kick ass and still tell a great story. It's possible. I swear to you.
I love that, dude. That is such a good breakdown of that, because honestly, I was worried how they would close this out, considering that it's gone on for such a long time. This disdain that the Blackpool Combat Club has always had for Eddie Kingston, and most importantly, Danielson. So there's a lot of cool development there, and I'm actually interested to see where they go. I genuinely think we could be going to a Danielson-Kingston tag team down the line, which would be super fun. Because they're both just such different wrestlers. And with Bryan, I know Bryan said that this is his last year, right? Wrestling, I think he announced
approximately,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like a tag team is pretty good for him to have, and he's always been great in tag team storylines. But I also would like to see Bryan win the World Championship, but I don't think that's his MO. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, lots of cool stuff there. And then of course we had the title match between Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page. We've been talking about it. The show started with this storyline, and we have a conclusion of it. Samoa Joe is still your AEW World Champion, and Joe looked like a star in this match the entire time. It just felt like every time he was in the ring, you knew someone was going to get fucked up. Every time that there was going to be like a altercation between Hangman and Swerve, Joe was there. It's like they did the thing that they needed to do, which was make this triple threat about Swerve and Hangman, and how they're overlooking Samoa Joe, who walks away with the win. I knew Hangman was going to take that loss because it fits the story so well. The question is, where do we go from here for Swerve? Because you can make the case that Joe could just say back of the line, and that's because that's what he has already established as champion since he's come in. Matt, what do you think? How did you feel about that match?
They kind of went down, and we had a little brief conversation about predictability in wrestling. It kind of went down exactly like we thought it would, but it was really good.
Yeah, just because it's predictable doesn't mean that it can't be good.
and what I liked about it too is it's a great example of, so Hangman and Swerve focus on each other, like overlooking Joe, so to speak. But a lot of the time when you do that, especially with a kind of a heel that you're overlooking like that, is it's a chance for the heel to be like, all right, you two fight, and I'm gonna steal it, right? They were doing that, but Joe still looked dominant, still looked strong, as opposed to like, I'm going to take advantage of their little tussle. It's more like you guys are idiots. I'm giving you chances to fight, these sort of thing, but I'm going to just beat you up
anyway because I can.
Anyway, because you guys are fucking up, and I'm going to take advantage of that rather than like this sneaky little, like, I'm going to try to steal it. He was still dominant, which we thought was good. And we had I don't know, would you consider this to be our first like truly official like babyface moment from Swerve when he refused to use, right? That was a deliberate like, I'm gonna do the good guy right thing and say no to this.
And he turned down Prince Nana, and like Prince Nana has been like the primary instigator of all of the things. So like that was and it was very clear and concise. He turned, he was like, no, I will win this on my own. And then he turned around and then got clocked. And that was, I agree. It was all great. Also Hangman, right? Like I wanted to see manic Hangman, and that is exactly what we got. We knew that it was happening. We saw the evolution of man take place in real time, where this guy is just like starting to lose his rocker little by little. But what I didn't expect was a full-blown assault on poor Bryce Remsburg. My guy just got dominated because Hangman just decided, I'm going to beat the crap out of this dude right here and now because I don't want to lose this match. And again, there is something that you can say about the predictability in that, but I think the way that they went about it really illustrating that Hangman has turned to the dark side. He is a bad guy now. He hit Swerve with the belt. He attacked a referee who was just doing his job. Perfection. Utter perfection. Now, where do they go from here? Because that is the most important thing. They have sold the character. We have gotten the character. We have gotten Joe being the dominant champion. We have now babyface Swerve that's going to start making his run. And we have crazy-ass Hangman Adam Page who now wants to be like just he's got to be champion one way or another. It all fits. It's perfect. But does it lead to another Swerve Hangman match? Do we want another Swerve Hangman match?
Not for a while.
Yeah?
I mean, if rumors are to be believed, and I think it makes sense considering the attack, Hangman's gone for a while. I think he takes time away. Yes.
Okay, so maybe they say like they suspended him.
They have to. That's one thing we have to, I think, hold a little bit in high regard in wrestling in general. Like, ref bumps happen, but those are always incidental, and so it's a dangerous sport. Shit happens.
Yeah.
When you have a wrestler choose to
deliberately,
this is not the Attitude Era anymore. Deliberately, boom, to an official in your sporting contest. They need harsh and severe, and it's all storyline. But tell us it's, a month suspension, $10,000 fine, whatever. It needs to be treated as opposed to just like, you can't do that anymore. Like Hangman, he needs to go away, whether it's 1 week or 2 months or whatever like that. Yeah, they need to show us those repercussions. So I think he may go away for, even if it's a short term, a little bit. And
I'm okay with that, man. I think we need to normalize that more and more and more. Like, wrestlers should go away. They should rest up. They should have time for themselves so that they can like recoup, and then they could continue to build whatever it is that they want to build. MJF is doing that right now, and I think it's really smart. And if they do that with Hangman, yeah, for sure. Because also it's like we now know, right? We saw him kind of snap. And now this is an opportunity. What direction do they want to take this in? You're going to give yourself a little bit of a break. Well, if Swerve maybe wins the title, then you give him a good first feud that he can overcome. That would be a solid one. But the thing is, I'm not too sure I want Swerve to win the belt right now because I'm just really enjoying Samoa Joe's run, and I'm okay if they go with it a little bit longer just because he's so believable in this role. Yeah. Like, give me a year. Give me 2024. Just let it be Samoa Joe's year. Don't take that belt off of him. But,
So,
what do you think, Jake?
So, a couple things. One, I agree that Hangman needs to see some sort of repercussion for what he does. This is one of my biggest complaints with AEW is it seems that there are not rules, there are suggestions. Like it seems off, and it's most obvious in tag matches or matches with 3-man, 4-man, 23-man, whatever the fuck they want to do. It gets to a point in a match where the ref is just like, well, go off, I guess. I mean, like they just kind of, nobody listens. The ref doesn't even try to corral anybody. You don't know who the hell the legal man is. Like, and the rules just seem nebulous. So I wish that they would do that more, because if you want to talk about, well, we want to make it seem like it's a legitimized thing and you're trying to do that with rankings, then you need to do that with rules. Like, I'm not saying that the wrestlers can't break rules and they can't be bent and they can't be flexible to a degree, but it can't be all the time. It can't be all the time. That's one thing that really frustrates me about AEW is there's no regard for rules at all.
I actually can speak a quick little thing on this. When I was working AEW many years ago, it was like I was there for Full Gear, I want to say, and I think something had happened on an episode of Dynamite, or maybe not Dynamite, but something had occurred, and I will never forget Chris Jericho going to everyone and saying, "Guys, hold the rope." Like the rope, if the rules don't matter, how the viewer is going to care if the rules don't matter? So I think that gets put forward, but because you have...
And the bigger thing is...
Yeah.
How are the people going to care when a rule gets broken?
Exactly.
Right.
If they've never seen it.
If it happens all the time.
Yeah. And that is certainly, and you know what? I think, oh man, I'm so glad you brought this up, Jake, because I wasn't going to talk about it because I wrote a note down about it, but it's something that stuck out to me that I really enjoyed. And Monday Night Raw, they have now Adam Pearce running the show. And on Friday Night Smackdown, they have the one and only Nick Aldis running the show. And I can't help but feel like an authority figure would work very well for AEW. But hear me out real fast. Before anyone...
I'm just saying, watch a couple episodes ago where maybe I said this already. I don't know.
You did. But at first I wasn't sure, but I started to notice the difference in how WWE is presenting their authority figures now versus the way it was back then. Back then, the authority figures were there purely to just screw over someone else, right? Like that's like the whole purpose of the authority figure.
Yes.
Antagonist. And it kind of got a little stale because honestly, like, I mean,
you didn't like the anonymous Raw GM?
The world just got given this job. Oh, dude, that was, I mean, and I think that was it, right? That was when we figured out that this style of storytelling was just ass and it needed to end, right? So what Triple H is doing with Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, I really like it. They are coming across as employees. Their job is to make these shows good. That's all they care about. They care about getting good wrestlers, putting good matches, and making an entertaining product. And it comes across on camera as well because they're all clearly, it looks like all the wrestlers that are cooking right now are having fun. And they're doing like things like at a pace that they feel comfortable with. I mean, like even like Dakota Kai and like the way that she's been a great mouthpiece for damage control. I think again, there's just a lot of freedom that's being given out there, but it is coming across very well with those authority figures, right? Even the way that they like sold who these people are, because I remember when I saw Nick Aldis show up in WWE, I'm like, the hell is he was just NWA champion like 5 days ago. What the hell is happening right now? But they gave him the respect and the gravitas. There's this guy who is a world champion, who is a big deal, and he's running the show now. And it's like, oh yeah, good luck stepping up to Nick freaking Aldis. Like he's very believable in his role. So honestly, I kind of want to see AEW do that. I want to see AEW take a charismatic like champion, like figure, like someone that honestly, Dustin Rhodes would be the perfect person for this. Sure. Because, well, obviously you get, like with Dusty and his legacy, but also, I mean, I worked with Dustin. He's incredible. Everyone respects him. He is genuinely like a cut above the rest. He would be such a great option in this role. So anyway, that was the thing that I noticed. And I think, yeah, you're right. Like AEW could really benefit from that. And as much as Tony Khan is, at times a lovable person, sometimes comes across a little sporadic, but honestly shift it away from him and let him kind of just do his thing on camera and have a proper authority figure.
Will it work though? Will it work if there are wrestlers who are known to the audience and are portraying it on camera that they are executive vice presidents of the company?
I think that's a storyline. I just see it.
I mean, it could be.
I don't really see. I don't really see that as a bad thing because they're still performers, right? Sure. Yeah. Because like they can still come in and say like, "Hey, behind the scenes, you guys do executive vice president things, but when you're here on this show, you're on my show, and you need to respect the rules of the show as a performer." Right? There's easy ways that I think that they can get around to doing that because they're even kind of doing that right now with the Bloodline angle. Right, Rock's going around like literally every tweet. He's just talking about TKO. Yeah, like he's literally throwing his corporate schlong around everywhere he can, as much as he possibly can.
It's corporate strudel. Corporate strudel.
Yeah, the corporate strudel. I'm so sorry. The corporate strudel.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So sorry, Rock. So sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I would really love to see that. But what do you think? You guys think that could maybe be a direction that they go potentially?
I think it's needed.
I think it's yes. I think it's very much needed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
I think you need something to centralize a little bit. And like, that's not Tony. I don't think Tony's great, but I don't think he's a great on screen. authority figure kind of thing like that. And
he shouldn't be. He shouldn't have to be. Honestly,
he shouldn't have to be.
Like Vince McMahon did that shit because he's a narcissist. Like honestly, like it's not. I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter. But like, I'm not trying to even be insulting here. I'm just stating an obvious fact of like psychological, mindsets of people. You could just see it on camera all the time. The guy, he just wanted to be on camera as much as possible until he just physically couldn't anymore. I didn't really see a reason why Tony Khan, a guy who, doesn't really seem like he wants to take bumps in the middle of the ring, why would you do that, right? So, But what were you going to say, Jake? Sorry.
I wasn't going to say anything. I just think it should be someone that's not Tony Khan. Yes. That's it. It just needs to be someone not Tony Khan.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know what? Revolution was great. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the matches. The match I'm going to talk about later on, I changed it. I was going to talk about BCC FTR. We already talked about it, but instead I'm going to talk about Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita, the match that had no storyline going into it, but turned out to be my favorite match of the night. We'll talk about that later. For now, though, it's time for some fantasy booking because we have theories. Okay, I have theories, rather. And actually, Jake has some theories. Oh, you got
something just came into the noggin. I didn't have one before we started today, but
I love this.
It's a small one.
You know what? I want you to go first. I want you to go if you want.
Sure. And it's very simple. I don't have like all the details worked out. It literally during our last conversation, it just kind of peeked in. So, little bit again. This is very more broad strokes as opposed to like deep storyline. But you talked about Bryan Danielson. This is his last year in wrestling. He's kind of made that very clear. Nebulous about the end date. We don't have that. But like this general year-ish of time, he's finishing up. Doing a lot of the things he always wanted to do. He got to go back to Japan. We've seen that happen. Doing some of this stuff. So, I think we could wrap up a couple different things in here. I think we can wrap up Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, and X Factor Nigel McGuinness into this next year. Because they have been going hard on the Nigel Bryan thing. That is true.
Nigel is taking every opportunity to shit on Bryan every chance he gets. Much to the point where Excalibur is confused. It was so good. Yeah, go on, man. Keep cooking.
And so I think, just knowing Nigel, even if he didn't want to get back in the ring or whatever, he would still do that. That's his character. He loves it, and he's so good at it. But I think, especially hearing what I've heard from Nigel in the last year or two, he is feeling better. He is feeling like he could maybe at least have a
tag match,
right?
Like,
no.
Or like one solo match.
I think if knowing Nigel, if he's gonna do it,
he's going full bore.
And he's doing it with Bryan, who they had an epic Ring of Honor rivalry. And incredible matches. Go look out Nigel McGuinness, Bryan Danielson matches from Ring of Honor back in the day. I think that's one of those things Nigel would like one more chance to maybe do. I think Bryan would like to do that on his way out as well. So I think Bryan, had this little bit of like a heel run with BCC and stuff, and then now is kind of, he respects Eddie. Maybe we get back on the babyface side of things, especially with Nigel really going hard on him from the heel side. This builds to Nigel and Danielson sometime this year.
Yeah.
Even if that's like a hardcore match or something like that.
I really hope that does. Because honestly, even if they were to just like do that on a Collision, like I wouldn't even be mad about that. No. Because where would you fit that? I mean, you'd have to you'd have to give Nigel a lot of time. And I don't know if Nigel's like made himself I don't know, he feels disconnected from AEW because he's only on Collision. Well,
you can have a 10-minute match on a pay-per-view.
But they also
I agree. Yeah. Sorry.
They also just did Takeshita and Ospreay for no reason other than because. So why can't they do the same?
That's true.
With Nigel and Danielson?
And there already is story with Nigel and Danielson.
There's precedent.
Years of story. There's deep-seated issues.
So you're
in a company that they own.
Yeah,
just replay all that footage.
The story is already written. Okay. It's already built in. So then I'm just saying now you start getting more specific with it. We start seeing Bryan lay out the challenge. Nigel, no, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Whatever. They eventually we get there. Some big blowout between them. They get to have a moment whether they hug or not, and blah blah blah. Nigel gets to kind of have one more moment in the ring. Bryan does something really special with a close friend of his on his way out. But after that, we propel another thing to do on the way out. Like, to your point, GB, I think we could, especially if this is maybe towards the end of 2024. We've had a great Samoa Joe reign. One more thing Bryan can check off the list is AEW World Champion. We get a banger out of them, puts over Bryan, and then on his way out of the business, Bryan, as I know he would like to do, puts over someone young, hot, and on the hottest rise in Swerve Strickland, perhaps early 2025.
You son of a bitch.
Something like that. I think we could just have a really cool final year for Bryan with those three touchstones, and I'm sure other awesome stuff in the middle.
You did it. You sold me. I would love for that to happen. Because admittedly, I came back to pro wrestling, like watching it regularly, when like CM Punk and Bryan were on the come up, right? I watched the Mania where Bryan lost in 10 seconds. I thought it was funny because I didn't know who he was at the time, right? I wasn't too familiar with him. I didn't know his game. And then but then I saw CM Punk, and I was like an instant fan because it was like so different. But I never went and checked out Ring of Honor. And everyone told me about how just epic these matches were. And funny enough, the only Ring of Honor show I got a chance to go see was Kevin Owens' last, when he was Kevin Steen, his last match at Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan. I was there watching that match. I think Tanahashi came out that day, or it was Hiromu. I don't remember exactly. And Ring of Honor was always like elusive to me. So they're going to have to really sell this angle. And yes, you're right. They do own Ring of Honor. They do have that footage. It's all available to them now. But they're really going to have to like build this up. And I do think though that like what their out is that McGuinness has been just going off on Danielson week in and week out, right? Calling him a fraud, he's a bum, all this stuff, right? Bryan makes the good guy decision to shake Eddie's hand. Now he's a good guy. So now this gives Nigel all the agency to be like, he's a fraud. He's lying to all you people. No way in hell he's turned another cheek. He's a monster of a man. Mm-hmm. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, yes, it does right itself. If they do decide to go that route, it literally writes itself. And that would be super sick. And it's very apropos of Bryan, because I think that Tony Khan would like him to hold the AEW World title. I think he would like for him to be a champion in AEW, especially after how much Bryan has, in my opinion, contributed to AEW in a very unselfish capacity. Would actually be pretty cool to see.
That was my part too. Is like, I mean, even if Bryan didn't really want to, I feel like Tony kind of insisting, be like, you got to hold the world title on the way out, like, just for a little bit, like because I think he's done a lot for that company. I think he's done a lot both in front of and behind the camera and everything. So I think it would be one of those things that they would kind of almost insist, like please let us just make you part of this legacy.
Yeah, let us honor you as on your way out, just like the way they did for Sting, Yep. And I think it all kind of lines up. That's great. I love that. All right, so we got a potential Bryan becoming AEW World Champion in 2024 and losing to Swerve Strickland, potentially at an All Out or maybe All In or maybe Double or Nothing. Who knows? We'll see. But that would actually be a pretty sick angle. And I think Samoa Joe dropping the belt to Bryan would be one of the best matches of the year.
Awesome.
I could comfortably say that. Jake, what about you?
Yes, sir.
What do you have?
Well, what I have is this: Night 2 of WrestleMania.
Okay.
All right.
I'm excited. Whatever this is.
No, I think
Night 2.
Yeah, Night 2 of WrestleMania, your co-main event for the women's World Champion. Okay. Your winner of that match will not be Rhea Ripley.
Oh.
And it will not be Becky Lynch.
Oh.
It's going to be Liv Morgan. I think Liv Morgan is going to get added into this match for a triple threat. I don't know if it's day of, but I think Liv Morgan gets added and it's a triple threat match. Because look at all that. She is being pretty heavily involved in Becky's story right now, or at least it seems like it's just Becky's story, but she keeps calling it the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, right? The one person that she wants revenge, and and think about it, Liv is a little bit mirroring Drew's story, because she was out for 6 months storyline because of Rhea Ripley, because they had given her a steel chair to the shoulder, needing to have that repaired, rehabbed, whatever, out for 6 months, lost 6 months of her career. She's made a big deal of it. She's pissed that she loses the Elimination Chamber. She's pissed that Becky keeps taking the spotlight and the opportunity from her to be able to get revenge on Rhea Ripley. We saw her we saw Becky interfere with the match between Nia and Liv last week. We saw Liv interfere in the match between Becky and Nia on Monday. And they even had a little interaction backstage of, okay, you want to take this where you seem to want it to go, then fine. Next week, you and me. I think maybe Rhea gets involved in that in some capacity to mess with Becky. Not even,
you know what?
And the whole thing, and the whole. Well, I'm just saying she could.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's possible. Just have Liv win.
You could have Liv win, but if you want,
you get your justification. You know,
sure,
maybe
you could,
right?
yeah, you could do it. You could, that's one way you could do it as well. But I think like Rhea's had her WrestleMania moment. Becky's definitely had hers. Why not let Liv have it? I mean, Liv's been great. I think Liv is very. I think she's underappreciated. I think she's underrated. I think it would be great just to see her go balls to the wall crazy. And pull out a win. I think you can do kind of what they did, like a reverse situation of the Samoa Joe, Swerve, and Hangman thing, right? It's just all Becky and Rhea care about is each other, and they keep overlooking Liv. And Liv is just going to get more and more pissed off, and then she sneaks in and wins it. I think that would be. I think that would be fun.
To further add a little bit more sazon to the whole situation, seasoning, if you will. I said,
what is sazon?
Sazon.
I took French.
No, Spanish. I'm Puerto Rican.
It's Spanish for sauce. No, I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, it's Spanish for seasoning.
Well, now I feel like an idiot.
It's a particular type of Goya seasoning called sazon. But you know what? When I see you guys,
it sounded like you were. It sounded like you were trying to play.
So you know what? We'll put some picante. Okay. I love that joke. A little bit. You know what? Let's actually do that. Some sazon. Yeah. All right, here we go. So I actually now do think that what happens next week is going to tell us a lot about where this is going, because obviously we're going to get Becky Liv in a matchup finally. You're right. There have been these interferences. There was also the Revenge Tour thing. She's been very vocal on social media. The fans were mad.
Because otherwise, what's the point? Why are you involving Liv in all of this if it's just going to be Becky and Rhea anyway? I think it becomes a triple threat.
At first, I thought that it was just going to be like, okay, Becky needs to fight some pretty believable opponents leading into a big matchup with Rhea. And Rhea beat Nia Jax. So if Becky can beat Nia Jax, then that means that Becky is just as good to, fight against Rhea. That was like, and also I do want to give a massive shout out to Nia Jax because she was great in the match with Becky as well. She has found like her rhythm as like a big guy wrestler. She knows exactly like her timings now, and she's just doing like big impactful move, and it helps that her opponents are like half her size. But it's been fun to watch her cook and do that. But that being said, Nia has served a very good role in this as well. I could also see them having Nia interfere in that matchup as Liv is about to get the win, and then Nia interferes, thus creating more and more of this division amongst them. But again, to that point, it's like, how does Nia fit into this? How does Liv fit into this? Because yes, she did lose to Rhea clean in Perth, but she's still like they're really trying to build like, hey, the champion won, so the champion's cleared. So now Rhea's just walking around like she's enjoying sweet life because, again, they're rules, right? Because, like, Adam Pearce and them have set up these rules clearly. And then they're like, well, if you're a contender, you might not make it to WrestleMania. And that's been, like, Nia Jax's whole thing is, like, how do I just destroy these people so I could take their spot at WrestleMania? So there's also that whole thing, too. They could also just potentially yeet Becky out of the title picture because Nia fucks her up, you know? Like, there's a possibility of that too, you know. Like there are, now that you say that, there are a lot of directions that they can go.
4-way.
It could be a fatal 4-way, but I mean, look, another Liv was the next to last person. Bayley tossed her out to win the Rumble.
Yeah.
So it's not like Liv's not a credible threat to win the title.
No, for sure.
Yeah, dude, you're so right. Oh, damn. You guys are cooking. I love this. We got some good theories. All right.
Yeah.
This is one that I'm excited for because
let's get this over with.
It involves mi primo, okay, Damian Priest. We're not cousins, but I wish we were. So on this episode of Monday Night Raw, we were treated to 2 awesome matches. We were treated to Judgment Day versus Imperium and Dominic Mysterio versus Gunther, the Ring General. Okay, and in those matches, some big storyline points were like kind of pushed forward, right? Because last week we were stoked when we saw Judgment Day come out and confront Imperium, right? Because that was essentially like turf war shit, right? Like Judgment Day's coming out and be like, hey, yo, you guys think you're stepping up to the plate? No, we run this. So good luck, right? And it was a 1-for-1, right? Gunther beat Dominic, obviously, and Imperium lost to Judgment Day, which was Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Real quick on the Gunther-Dom matchup, you can notice that throughout the match, like, they were trying to cheat, but then Dom actually was trying to win. And then he tried to, like, catch Gunther off guard. He tried to hit him with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. Almost had him. I mean, it was devastating. But it wasn't enough to secure the win. And after the matchup, you see like Dom in the back getting consoled by Rhea and the whole team. And then in comes Damian Priest. And he's all like, hey, yo, what's going on? Also, the Andrade stuff, absolutely love it. They're sprinkling in some Andrade here and there. That's going to be really fun, but I don't know where that's going, so I don't want to comment on that yet.
Did you also notice that when Damian and maybe this is where you're going, when Damian and Dom were both talking in your native tongue, when and Rhea just looks confused.
Partially.
And she's like, what's going on here?
Actually, there was a thing I wanted to bring up with that as well that my wife actually pointed out because, so real quick, and this is kind of an aside, but it is worth pointing out. And I really hope that they, I don't know, maybe see this because I think it would be really good feedback for them. So I do like that they're sprinkling in Spanish into some of these segments because, you know, they have established well so that, you know, Damian Priest is Latino, he's Puerto Rican. It's very well documented, especially with the stuff of Bad Bunny. Same thing with Dominic. So I like that they have this like thing where they speak Spanish. And so you guys are aware that is a very common thing in Latino culture. Is that when there's an opportunity and you're in a situation where you're not sure what's going on and you need to like get info, you just go to Spanish as quickly as you possibly can to a person who you know you can speak to, and you're just going back and forth. Damian Priest and Dominic solved the problem right away. The problem was I didn't quite hear what Damian said and what Dom said because they kind of mumbled their Spanish a little bit. And I had my wife like, I raised the volume. I had her like listen in, and she still couldn't tell. So I just hope that like if they're gonna do this and they're gonna sprinkle like Spanish into it, use like keywords that are very obvious
that you can pick up on.
Like when he said primo, for example, right? Like that's cousin in Spanish. So he was asking him, "Oh, is this a cousin of yours?" Like because obviously it's like they all come from like the Mexican wrestling family, right? That dynasty that's down there of all these great Mexican wrestlers.
Sure.
So I think he said something like, "No, it's just it's a family friend or something like that."
Okay.
But we should pay attention to him. And I thought that was great. But again, I just really hope that if they do more Spanish, you got to get those mics closer, or they just got to be a little bit clearer, so that this way you can get those points across. And then of course you say like the key words, and then it also helps to like reiterate if he says something like, hey, eso tu primo, you'd be like, oh, is that your cousin? Like, you could just repeat that again, or he could just say it in English, right? It's like, no, it's not my cousin. It's, family friend or something like that. So that this way there's like a little bit of a translation going on. Small aside, but I really enjoy that. And as a Puerto Rican watching professional wrestling my whole life, it's pretty cool. It's like nice to see that.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're not just like gimmicked. We're not just gimmicked into like those Hispanic guys. It's like, no, like we have characters now. We have wrestlers and people represent us, and it's beautiful. So anyway, back to my theory. Damian Priest will cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase on Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, stealing Drew McIntyre's moment from his grasp, from his grips, the thing that Drew has wanted so much, the thing that Drew says that is just an inevitability, that he will beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. And you know what? He will beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania because the Bloodline are going to fuck him up. He is going to be absolutely destroyed. He's going to walk into that match, and he is going to get hit with a Claymore so fast that Seth Rollins is going to lose the match. And here is where it's going to get great. Because Damian Priest isn't going to come out and, like, rob. Maybe he does. He could. But I actually think what they want to do is just have Priest go up there and just challenge Drew right away. And then Priest wins. Straight up match. Priest wins at Mania. And that is how you put him hella over. Giga over. And it adds another ripple to the Drew McIntyre story because now he can go full, like, there is a thing here. You guys are against me. You don't want me to succeed. You don't want me to thrive here. I'm the champion that this company deserves. Meanwhile, you have this knucklehead who's been playing dress up with his goth friends this entire time, thinking that he can come up here and play game with the big boys. No. So then we get a bad guy chasing a good guy for a title. And that could be quite fascinating and very different. But I do think that Damian will win at Mania. I do think Damian Priest will walk out of Mania as a world heavyweight champion.
I've been wondering where that whole thing was going to go. It's got to be because it's in July, right?
Him. Dude, people want to cheer them. Did you not the reaction that they got?
So Judgment Day turns face?
They're already. I think they're already storyline turning face. Yeah, they're slowly but surely. I mean, dude, you don't show 5 people in a group about being a badass goth, vengeance guy, right? And then you don't show them consoling the chicken shit heel in the medical area and everyone looking compassionate. You don't do that unless your intention is to make this into a good guy faction because guess what? You got yourself your new next bad guy and it will be Gunther and he will be awesome. And my body is ready for the reign of Gunther in whatever capacity that will look like. But
Wrestling is just the opposite of Batman. It's you die a bad guy or you live long enough to become a hero.
It's true.
Because any heel gimmick if it's good and it just stays, eventually the heel becomes a babyface.
Yes.
Because people are like, they're so fucking good at what they do. Or whatever. You know what I mean?
So you don't think Gunther becomes or stays a bad guy? Because it feels like, because for him, I think he has to lose that belt, right, eventually, and it seems like it will be Gable that's going to be the one to take it off.
I think he stays a bad guy. For example, Gunther. No. For now, I think Gunther's another one, though, is another heel who's so damn good, and people know how damn good he is at everything. He will become a babyface over time. I think the Judgment Day in this feud, Judgment Day is more babyface. I think they will be, and I think they're going to be in that transition, or at least I think to your point, Priest is, especially. Yeah. But I think Imperium has a little bit longer, and then maybe Gunther goes later this year, flips that around at some point.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of things that are happening with Judgment Day right now, like a lot of like storylines that are like kind of tethered to them a little bit on Monday Night Raw. It's they definitely like they've been doing a really good job of identifying like kind of main characters, if you will, like on the show, and then building everything around them. Case in point, we got a little bit of a segment of Regeneration X, the funniest thing with R-Truth, DIY, and The Miz. And even Woods was there. It was just so great. And him even saying, he was like, I don't know what this is, and it should offend me, but I love it. Like, he said that on camera. It was so perfect. But yeah, it seems like the tag team titles will leave them eventually. I just don't know how they rectify that. But, there's just so many angles right now that they could take. But I do think it leads to Priest being champion over Drew, stealing a moment from Drew. Because they've been building that. So it feels like it makes sense.
All right, I want to share a half-baked, crazy fantasy booking idea that, like I said, is half-baked. I don't exactly know how. I don't know how it happens or how it works, and maybe you can help me with this. Maybe we can brainstorm this. I think it would be interesting if Drew somehow takes over Judgment Day.
Oh, that would be fun. I would not
and
be
Drew
by that.
And Drew is like, you've lost your way. Judgment Day is about casting judgment upon other people. That's what I've been trying to do. That's what I'll do as champion. And he starts using Judgment Day somehow as his minions and basically creates his own bloodline and becomes what he hated all along.
Oh, dude, honestly though, a Drew bad guy angle of that of him running a faction, he's never done that before. So that would be a cool twist.
That is interesting.
I don't know exactly how it works, but like just the idea of him being like like I said, he's on this righteous path now almost, with righting these wrongs that he believes are wrongs. And what if he just is like, you know what? We're going to become the righteous hand of WWE and we're going to dole out justice in every way we see fit.
Yeah.
Makes his own
that would be
Injustice League or something, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yes. Oh, dude. I wouldn't be
I just don't know how exactly you pull it off, but I like that. And then from that, you can have Judgment Day turn face when they turn on Drew. Go ahead, Matthew.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Go ahead. Hey, pass the ball over here, Jay.
Yeah.
I'm open. Yeah. So, I don't know if this works, and this has been quite a fantasy booking session. We're all kind of piggybacking.
Yeah.
So, because I had an idea before you started talking that it might be able to fold in, because to the point about Imperium and Judgment Day, I think for sure, in my mind, for some reason, I don't know. I think this is 100% going to happen. I don't know if it happens between now and Mania or after Mania. I think Imperium takes the tag titles off of Priest and Balor. I think Imperium walks into Germany in the summer with gold. Tag title and Intercontinental.
Yeah, because they're going to do like a big European tour, right?
They always do, but especially with that pay-per-view being in Germany, I think they're going to want kind of highlight them. They're the European guys, right? So I think Priest and Balor lose to them at some point in the next 2-3 months as this feud kicks off. Again, whether it's a Mania thing or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Priest uses that as a little bit of a frustration moment, and maybe he starts separating himself from them. And then when Priest cashes in, again, whether it's your prediction of Mania or maybe after, he does win the title. That's his kind of full separation. He abandons the Judgment Day. They're kind of mad at him. Drew sees the vacuum. Drew's pissed at him because maybe it's Drew who he cashes in on. Again, piggyback off that. And it kind of is like, well, you take my title, I'm taking your old friends.
I'm taking your family,
I'm taking your team. I'm taking your team.
And I'm going to make you pay. So I don't know if that kind of meshes the ideas together.
I do like that because I feel like with Seth Rollins and his run, right, they've been pointing out the length of the reign. I think he's at 286 or 287 right now. So, he's held on to that belt for a long time. And everything that Drew is saying is 100% right, where it's like you're not a champion of Monday Night Raw, you are a champion of Seth Rollins. You want to make sure that you are involved in the storylines. You are the ones that's being discussed here. So again, everything that Drew is saying is 100% accurate, but Seth is also right in that the biggest problem that WWE faces is the Bloodline, because they literally go from show to show and they're just like ruining matches, which is what happened this week. So there is certainly merit there where you can take it in that route. I do feel like it also makes sense to have Drew and Damian kind of go square off, because those are two people that have honestly avoided each other a fair amount on Monday Night Raw. And they've been there for a while together. Mm-hmm. Alternatively, after WrestleMania, you could do like just big shakeups, move champions, across shows, or move people across shows. But I feel like with how they've been telling their stories, they plant so many seeds and they just kind of see what grows. I would be really disappointed if they were to separate Drew and Damian, because I think also they would be great rivals for each other, for like especially building Damian Priest, because you could tell that they really do believe in him, and he's starting to. I mean, they had him in a match with one of the biggest like rappers in the world, and trusted him to guide him in that matchup. So there is a certain degree of trust there that I think Damian Priest has now earned, and I'm excited, man. And also, just full transparency, seeing a Puerto Rican hold a world heavyweight title or any title in WWE, that I might break out crying. So be ready for that one, because I already cried when I saw Sting win. So that's definitely going to happen there. This grown man going to be crying tears of joy. All right, lots of really cool stuff, lots of sick theories. Goodness gracious. Let us know what you think for your fantasy booking theories. What do you think of our theories? And I'll make sure that I section them off into video so you guys can go.
But how could they let us know? Yeah, but isn't there...
comment section on YouTube. There might be another way. Well, wait a minute. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. But you guys are just going to have to hang on for a little bit longer, because we got to go around the squared circle, because we got to just talk about some great matches that we saw this week. Just things in wrestling that caught our attention. Matt, I believe you wanted to talk about Bayley and what's going on over there. What how you feeling?
So really quick, this one's just, I thought it was a nice little development. So we had the big Dakota Kai tag match. She drops from the apron in classic, leaves Bayley. She's loyal to Damage Control, which I thought was a really nice thing. Calling back to our point earlier about Drew going around and being like, with Jay, being like, are you all crazy? Like, they were a horrible member of this horrible faction, and now everybody... I think it was a good example. Bayley's been a staunch heel for years now, and is now getting this babyface run. And I think there's a little bit, and she's been kind of not like a horrible dictator, but she's been a little bit of the iron fist of Damage Control for a long time.
You can tell she's the leader. She positioned herself as the leader. Even when EO was champion, she was still the one going off, being the mouthpiece. Yeah, for sure.
And so, like, for Dakota to be like, we don't just forget that. I know, like, we were buddy, but like, you kind of bossed us around, and even with we had these great champions here. You were at the front and center and everything. You were taking the spotlight. So this idea of just continuing, again, the same idea. The babyface turn is great, but it doesn't mean you get off scot-free. You don't get a reset. You still kind of have to answer for some of your actions. So whether that was intentional or not, I do like that rift in the story. So that was I thought that was a nice little addition, a wrinkle.
Yeah. For sure. It's great to see as well, because we were talking about this, a few weeks back. We're like, it feels like the women's stories going into Mania season, not the best. Kind of wish that they were like putting a little bit more emphasis on them. And I think they found their path. Whether or not this was the path from the beginning with Becky, Liv, Rhea, Nia Jax, and they're swirling around each other, or the what's going on with Damage Control and how they're kind of like orbiting around one another. And it's also just because of the fact that like the Cody Rhodes story was just viral, weirdly enough, national news. So, like, just how else are you supposed to get noticed with these storylines?
Yeah,
which, again, is a bigger credit to a lot of these, because the fact that, like, WWE is giving all of these programs, like, time. They're giving them space, but then they also like add more on top of it. They're finding ways to layer things on top of each other, to have storylines converge, but at the same time branch out. Like, there's just really smart ideas that are happening over there. There was also another thing that happened as well. We haven't talked about NXT yet, but this was a big one that happened, Matt.
Dude, the return of... It's so weird, because I'm like, normally we've seen people jump ship a few times, right?
Yeah.
But usually WWE kind of retains their old names and stuff like that. So we see him return as so-and-so. But here we had Mr. Perfect 10, Mr. Chairman himself, come back to but he wasn't Ty Dillinger.
Nope.
Shows up at NXT, swings the chair out of the darkness, pulls the hood back. It's Sean freaking Spears.
And they said it.
Yeah.
They said it, which is great. Yeah.
And, I mean, that one just spikes my endorphins. He's my favorite opponent of all time that I've ever been in the ring with. One of my favorite people in the business. I
don't think there's anyone who's ever said a bad word about this man.
I
didn't get a chance to.
Because the only thing I hate about him is the man is like a couple of years older than me, but looks 5 years younger. So, you, Sean.
Yeah, that's true. This guy's amazing, dude. His physique's out of this world.
And he's so handsome.
He's so handsome.
He could play like 26 in a movie, or if he wanted to.
Or he could be someone's daddy.
Right. He is someone's daddy.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
So, but no.
And he has a gorgeous wife. The guy's got it all.
Yeah.
He's got it all, man.
Yeah.
On a selfish level, I don't know. All we saw was him show up out of the darkness. Again, I'm just biased because I love him so much. And
yeah,
so
I mean, I saw him and I was like, my first reaction was put the belt on him right now. That was my reaction. I literally saw him and I was like, yep, put the belt on him right now. That's it. That's all you need to know. Sean Spears in AEW was criminally underused. But also, one thing that I noticed about Sean whenever he was in the ring, like I recall it was like, I think it was Fight for the Fallen, one of the older pay-per-views, like when they used to do those. And it was at Daly's place, and I believe he was in a four-way match, I think it was. I think it was like Joey Janela was in the ring. I mean, this was like years ago, right? Like first era of AEW. And I remember looking at Sean Spears in this match and just being like, dude, this guy just looks a cut above everyone else. And it's not an insult on anyone. It really isn't. It's just that, like, one of the most believable looking guys that you can have in a wrestling ring, like, bar none. And I think they hung on to the chairman thing a little too long. I am excited that he's bringing the chairman thing back here because it fits. But, yeah, I really hope this works out for Sean Spears. And, yeah, just put the belt on him, Sean. Come on, man. Just make it happen, Shawn Michaels. Just do it.
Right.
All right. I wanted to talk about the matchup that had zero build in storyline going into AEW Revolution, but came out, in my opinion, as one of the greatest fucking professional wrestling matches I had ever seen. And we've seen a lot of great wrestling, but this thing was nuts. Will Ospreay, Konosuke Takeshita. It was the Don Callis family civil war. It was confusing how we got there. Don Callis was on commentary, and Don Callis was just the most Don Callis he could possibly be. My friend who had not watched AEW, he came over and I was just watching it, put it on. We were hanging out, and he looks at him. He was like, "Wow, I've never seen a person who actually looks like the human embodiment of what a thumb would look like if they were an actual human." And Don Callis was like, perfect, dude. He was just thumbing it up, man. He's just so fucking good. And he was like, just the whole time, just constantly talking about how, like, this was a great idea. Like, they were leaning into the fact that it was a dumb idea. Like, and that was the best part about comedy. Like, Excalibur was like, why would you do this? This makes no sense. Don Callis is like, because it's the perfect type of match. It's a great idea. Trust me. I know exactly what I'm doing. And the whole time, I like the fact that it was a dumb idea, but that's the story, that it was a dumb idea. It's a little different, a little bit wackier, but whatever. Regardless, though, we were treated to just an exquisite matchup between two prodigies in professional wrestling right now, but also two future champions, no matter where they decide to go. One, I'm glad they gave Takeshita music as he was, because I just did not like the brown noise that he was walking out to every week. I understand the idea was to pull personality away from him, make him seem more of a killer, but come on. It's like, just give the guy a theme song. And then Will Ospreay. The guy comes out and immediately just looks like a superstar. Once the music was coming, you can hear. You go back and watch Revolution. Because they all chant like, "Oh, Ospreay," right? And no one really knew at first what they were gonna do when Will Ospreay was doing that. And then as soon as he came up with the second pump of "Oh, Ospreay," the crowd was white hot. They were like, "Yeah, we're chanting this shit. We're in." And then they had the match of one of my favorite matches of the year. It was really well done. The conclusion coming out of it as well, being that, Will Ospreay obviously wins the matchup. They both shake hands in the middle of the ring, and then Don Callis the whole time is kind of just like, the fuck's going on here? I didn't want this. I don't want you guys to like shake hands. I need this to be like a rivalry. I need you to get that killer spirit. So whatever happens from here, I think that we're going to be in for finally a Will Ospreay storyline, week-to-week television, and it's going to happen alongside Don Callis and Takeshita. I think it's actually a good angle to start things off with Will. Did you guys get a chance to see any of the match at all? Because
I saw some highlights, and holy shit. I mean, they have some incredible chemistry in the ring. It was, I mean, just an athletic showcase. Because
it also, if you want to parallel to something in WWE, and they did something very similar, literally Andrade and Apollo Crews' match on Monday Night Raw was exactly what they were doing with Ospreay and Konosuke Takeshita. Get a guy who matches up incredibly well.
Do you just like saying his full name?
Go. Yeah. Well, I like respecting, but
sure.
And also I want to get better at it too.
Sure. But it's a fun name to say.
It is. I have a friend funny enough, I work with at Valorant, Elizabeth, that she's one of our new interviewers. She's actually really good friends with Takeshita. Yeah, that's fun to say. She's actually good friends with Takeshita. Yeah. So she always says things that they do or whatever. It's actually quite cute. But point is though, the things that they were doing in that matchup, Jake, were just some of the stuff I'd never seen before. It was I mean, maybe because I don't watch a lot of Will Ospreay matches outside of the big ones, but he did this Spanish fly that I don't even know. How, I wasn't even a Spanish fly. It was like a Spanish fly. It was double Spanish. He just added an extra layer of Spanish on it.
It's a Puerto Rican fly.
Yeah, it was a Puerto Rican fly. It was something. Matt,
a sazon fly.
A sazon fly. That's what it is. I know that you've seen a lot of his matches. I think you even called some of his matches as well. Several. So, give us the spiel on Will Ospreay.
He rules.
He really does. Do you think he's going to be all right in week-to-week television?
Dynamite drop.
How do you think he's going to do in that regard?
Will he's. I always hate this phrase because if there's one thing I've learned in the wrestling business, it's that everybody can shit the bed from top to bottom. But he's about as close to a guy as incapable of having a bad match as you can get. He'll have a bad match. It'll happen. It always does. But his record is probably almost better than anyone's with, just high quality.
Yeah.
And a great example of, yes, you can have matches, essentially cold matches is what we call them. No story going in. It's just guy A versus guy B, and they do the best they can. It's a great example of how you can make story within a match without story heading into it. And Will is so good at that. So no surprise there. I imagine we will be getting week to week Will Ospreay stuff. I hope so. I think that's all just more of a logistical question of if and when he is. I'm not sure if he's moved to the US yet.
He's here now. I think
he settled?
He said multiple times.
He's full timer now.
He is here. He will be on Dynamite.
I know he said that, but I'm just saying.
He's moved here.
Did they just have him on these first few shows, and he's still in the process of once he's got an apartment. I'm just logistically stuff like that where he's able to start being. It's much easier to go.
He's able to travel in and out without paying $1,000 on a plane ticket going across it.
Then for sure he will be, and I hope so, and I can't wait. I imagine, as we kind of talked about before, his first feud, because he's a certified babyface. Yeah. Unless they decide to swerve there, he's going to be fighting his way out of the Don Callis family.
Yeah.
In whatever fashion that happens.
Because he's fighting Kyle Fletcher, I think, on Dynamite or Collision.
And there's a lot of history there. His United Empire brethren from New Japan.
Yeah.
So that'll be really good. But I think that's where we start going.
Yeah, I think we're fine. Firstly, and I'm just glad that we have gone away from Jericho and the Don Callis stuff. I know it's probably going to pop up here and there, but it's nice that we just got something different in that regard. And yeah, I mean, look, without a doubt, the Don Callis family will fall apart. It's like the Jericho Appreciation Society. It's the same exact like style, except it's more of a manager than a wrestler. So like this thing, it's set up to fail, and it's only set up to like elevate some guys. So I'm looking forward to the crumbling of that, and however they do that narratively. But I am so excited to talk about Will Ospreay in week-to-week television. That's going to be really exciting. And my only real thing is, will people get tired of Will Ospreay going out there and doing like Will Ospreay things every single time? You know,
that'll
like
be,
that'll
be the question.
That is a possibility.
And that is a question that you're going to have to, in my opinion, you do have to kind of. It's not holding yourself back, but it's tempering your week-to-week matches.
Yeah.
Like WWE, I think had a problem with it themselves a couple of years ago, where like guys like Seth and everything were having these like 20-minute bang. I'm like, it was too much almost.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, I don't. It's a classic case of if everything's special, nothing is special.
Yeah.
So like they just need to temper. I'm a big believer in, especially, you know, with AEW are kind of a little bit more going. They have the old school model of like TV, pay-per-view, TV, pay-per-view. They're less about the streaming stuff and everything right now. The TV builds to the pay-per-view. That's what it should do. And so your matches should reflect that. They don't all have to be 20-minute bangers. That's where things like interference and shenanigans and the stuff people complain about, but that builds stories. As long as it pushes the narrative forward, that stuff is good. So, if we just see 19 false finishes, as awesome as they might be, and, you know, these incredible... One, it's going to wear you down.
Yes.
You know, it's a lot different doing that a couple times a month as opposed to every single week.
Yeah.
And it's also just going to take a little bit of the luster away from a big pay-per-view match. So we'll see. It's not about, like, working less hard or anything like that. It's just about...
saving the good stuff.
Tempering it and going from there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's going to be so fun, though. Will Ospreay officially in AEW, and we know that Okada is on the horizon, which is also like, I'm glad that they didn't just pull, you know, like front low when they did Bryan and Cole, even though that was super cool. I'm glad we didn't get any like not returns, but any like reveals or anything like that. It was just, you know, they gave Will Ospreay that time to shine. You could tell that they want to invest a lot into this guy. So it's going to be, and for good reason. So exciting stuff all throughout. But here is the thing, folks. Okay? You've been on this journey with us now for 4 weeks. 4 weeks. All right? And it has been exciting. Good news is we decided we wanted to keep the conversation going. And what we did, we made a Discord server. That's right. We now have the Rebooked Discord server where you can join up. We're gonna, you know, work on how like the server, I guess, is broken down over time. But, you know, the long and short of it is very simple. We like talking about wrestling storylines. We like talking about wrestling in general. And we figured it would be a really cool idea to have a place where we can have fun, positive conversations, no toxicity, none of that garbo, no tribalism regarding brands. No, we don't care about that stuff. What we care about is wrestling and the stories that are being told. And hopefully you guys feel the same way. So the Discord link will be on all of the socials now. It's you know, expected as part of our, you know, social media stuff. So you'll always see that. Tell people about it. It'll be, you know, open invites. We'll have stuff set up in the Discord server so you can give invites to your friends. And we hope you guys, you know, join us. Even if it's only a few of you. We hope you guys join up and we can just yip-yap about professional wrestling all the time. It will be super, super fun. But guys, I think this was a long one. There was a lot to talk about. Eventually, we're gonna have to maybe record multiple.
We picked a hell of a season to start this whole.
We really did, man. We really did.
Baby.
Oh boy! But good news is you guys are entertained. Jake,
I do have one last thing. To follow up on from last week. I'd like to read
a continuing story, if you will.
Yes,
narrative.
I'd like to read this. This is from a TikTok dated June 19th of last year. Ooh. 21 years ago today, we held our very first event on June 19th, 2002 from Huntsville, Alabama. That was put out by TNA Wrestling.
What? I know my wedding anniversary, and that's all I need to know. The rest of it is amorphous.
Oh, preach, brother, because I tell you right now, I got my wedding anniversary, and sometimes, man, it comes up, and I'm like, oh, crap, it's happening. So I totally get it.
But touche. Egg, where's the egg?
Oh, shout out to Huntsville, Alabama.
That's right.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Right.
All right,
Rocket
guys.
City, baby.
Well, I think that's a good place to close it out here. Once again, if you have enjoyed this episode, you're watching on YouTube, give it a like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much wherever we can get the podcast to. If Spotify for podcasters likes to play ball sometimes, feel free to subscribe, leave a review. We would like to read your reviews on the show. We would also like to read your fantasy booking. Okay, so get out there, let us know, and bear in mind, don't make it too long, okay? Just so that this way we can read it in one read. So that's all. Thank you guys so much. This has been such an amazing experience, and we're so grateful for everyone joining us here. And we'll see you guys in the Discord server. Catch you all next time for another one of Rebooked. Take care, folks.